Okay, are we live now? I think we are. Welcome to the second trainer talk with Mary. Sorry for the delay. Let me get the link that we can send to people. All right. Adding this to Facebook. All right. So let's see what we're going to talk about today. So let's talk puppies. This is a common series of questions we get. How do you house train? How do you get your puppies to stop biting, nipping, things like that? So one of the things that is most important for getting puppies to not bite and nip is actually making sure they get enough sleep. Puppies under the age of 4 months need about 20 hours of sleep per day. And then from 4 months to 2 years old, they will need about 18 hours of sleep per day, after which they need about 16 hours of sleep from 2 years till about 7. And then they go back to needing more sleep again. But if your dog is not getting enough sleep in the day, then they are going to be more destructive. They are going to be mouthier. They are going to scream more. So if you ever get a frustrated screamer where they demand bark at you or they just stand there barking at you repeatedly and you don't know what they want. And they are more likely to have accidents in the house. So destructive, biting more, yelling more, and being more likely to have an accident. All things we don't want from our puppies, but it's really good to keep in mind that if we get them enough sleep, their brain is going to be able to process things better and they're going to have those behaviors less. So, what is a good sleep schedule for your puppy? A good sleep schedule for a puppy is about 2 to 4 hour naps. 3 to 4 times a day. So usually what I recommend is that you follow the hunt, eat, sleep schedule. So hunt is an activity that mimics a hunt. So that would be play to the point of panting. We want heavy panting before we finish play, really get that energy out, or a walk. We want a walk to be about 5 minutes long per month old for puppies. After a year, you can just sort of do hour-long walks, but we don't want to over-exercise our puppies. So we want our puppies to spend a lot of their time sniffing and stopping to observe things on their walks. We don't want to focus on how far we go. We want to focus on how long we spend on the walk. That's why I say 5 minutes per month old for puppies. So either play or walk, those mimic the hunt. If you have a dog that's extra sniffy, a scent hound or something that really, really likes to smell, you can also hide treats around and make them find the treats by smell. That can also mimic foraging, which is a kind of hunt. So that can also burn off a lot of energy. Once we've burned off our puppy's energy with the hunt, then we want to go to eat. So they want to consume their kill. So we can give them a meal, or we can give them a we can give them a meal, or we can give them a chew of some kind, something to get their jaw working and get their saliva going. Once they've eaten, then they're going to want to digest and they're naturally going to get sleepy. This is the time to put them in a pen or a crate or on a tie down so that we can get them to have a nice long nap. Again, 2 to 4 hour naps. It would be ideal for most puppies. And after they have napped, they will wake up and we'll start all over again. They'll go out to go potty. We'll do the hunt, eat, sleep schedule all over again, and they'll take another 2 to 4 hour nap. Usually what this ends up being is that the puppy under 4 months is awake for about 4 hours a day total, and a puppy between 4 months and a year is awake for about 6 hours a day total. And if we can keep them having enough sleep, they are going to make such better pets. They are going to be so much easier to handle, and you are going to be pulling your hair out less. So remember the hunt, eat, sleep schedule for your puppies. If you remember nothing else about puppy raising, please remember the hunt, eat, sleep schedule. Now, the most important part of the hunt, eat, sleep schedule that most people forget is after dinner, the puppy needs to go down for another nap. A lot of people, they come home from work, they play with their puppy, they feed their puppy, and they don't put their puppy down for an after dinner nap. And then they end up with Cujo puppy or witching hour puppy, whatever you want to call it, at the end of the day, where they end up with this puppy that at sometime between 7 and 9 p.m. just goes absolutely nuts. And they are doing zoomies around the house. They're barking at everything. They're being destructive. They're nipping the owner. They're refusing to play with their toy, and they're only biting the owner. Any of that would be something that we would want to make sure that the puppy has a nap. That's all some signs of an overtired puppy that missed a nap. So make sure that you have that after dinner nap. I know you want to spend time with your puppy at the end of the day, but that after dinner nap is so important for their mental stability and mental health and their growth stage in life. So make sure they have an after dinner nap. Very often the after dinner nap is shorter. It's not a 2 to 4 hour nap. It's usually a 1 to 2 hour nap. And the puppy will naturally wake up and they'll be more cuddly and they will want to play a little bit more, and they'll be more willing to lay on the couch with you and snuggle. So you'll get a much more enjoyable puppy that doesn't have that late night, crazy, psychotic puppy energy that's just going in every direction all at once scenario. You will have just the calmer, more snuggly, more enjoyable puppy. Okay. Looks like there's nobody in chat, but that's okay. Got to stay hydrated. Okay. Let's talk about house training. So the most common problems that I hear about with house training are that the puppy ends up coming inside and immediately peeing. And so what happens there is the puppy gets so overwhelmed by the sights and the sounds and the smells of outside that they forget they have to go. And they're like, oh my gosh, what's this smell? Oh my gosh, what's this smell? Oh my gosh, what's this smell? And they just keep going from smell to smell. What was that noise? And they're so distracted, they forget they need to go. The moment they come back inside, which smells the same as it has all day, there's no wind, there's no strange noises. There's only you in there to distract them, and they've been hanging out with you for a while by that point. Then they are like, oh, right, I have to pee. And they pee. So, what we want to make sure that we do when we are taking our puppies out to go potty is we do a couple of things. If we're taking them out into a yard, we want to take them out on leash. And what this does is you go out on leash, you stand in one spot, or you pace in the same like 5 foot space, back and forth over and over again. The puppy's going to get bored, and the puppy is going to remember they need to go potty. They're going to go. As soon as they go, they get let off leash, and that's when playtime begins. That's when they get to explore the yard. That's when they get to run around. That's when they get to play with you. So we want to make sure that they go to the bathroom first and then get to explore the yard. And that's going to help keep their world small so they don't get distracted by all the sights, sounds, and smells that are inherent outside. Now, if we want to make this even better, you want to, I lost my train of thought. Give me a second. Okay. So, yes. So with house training, if we want, or if we have spent more than 5 minutes outside with the puppy on leash and they still won't go, bring them back in, but put them in a confined area. Put them in their crate, put them in their pen, put them on leash attached to you. Do not let them off leash. Just make sure that they are in a confined area. And after about 5 minutes of being inside, bring them back outside again on leash. What this does is it makes it so that if your puppy does have an accident in the house, it is contained. It is in a localized space, and you are able to catch it the moment that it happens. It also gives your puppy, keeps your puppy from going off and wandering off and finding a place to go and have an accident. So after about 5 minutes outdoors with no success, bring them indoors, contain where they are allowed to go. And if they have an accident or not, they go back outside after about 5 minutes. And you give them another chance on leash. Only after they have gone out potty outside do they get off leash, at which point they get to run around and explore. And they might have to go a couple of times, depending on the size of your puppy. Smaller dogs need to go more frequently because their bladder isn't as big. Larger dogs, they, especially dogs that like to mark, they tend to go a couple of times before they need to come back inside. So it can be really, really helpful to keep a pad of paper or a notebook near the door where you write down every time that your puppy goes to the bathroom. After a couple of days of marking down pee or poop, indoors or outdoors, and the date and time, you should be able to find a little bit of a pattern and figure out your puppy's cycle. And that will help you predict when your puppy is most likely going to need to go. And you're going to be able to get it down to a little bit of a science of this is when we take our puppy out to go potty, make sure they go potty, let them off leash, playtime. Most puppies are pretty solid with house training within about 3 to 4 months of practice. Some puppies can get it in as early as 3 weeks, but most puppies take several months because they are growing and they it takes them a little while to feel the sensation and to gain the control over their bladder to be able to hold it. So be patient with your puppy. If they have had no accidents in the house for a week, give them a little bit more freedom inside. So start off with them having only a couple of rooms that they have access to, and then start to expand slowly where they have access to after they've had success for at least a week. Yeah, and so I usually say they get one room at a time. They get the next room only after they've had no accidents in the house for at least a week. All right, let's see. That was house training. That was the nap time schedule. Let's talk about older puppies. Let's talk about puppies going through puberty. So, puppies are teething from about 3 months to about 6 months old. And as soon as they finish teething, they start going through doggy puberty, right about 6 months old. Some puppies, they go through it a little bit earlier. Some puppies, they go through it a little bit later. But that's when they start going through puppy puberty. And what puppy puberty looks like is they get this huge influx of hormones that makes it so that they are more curious about parts of the world around them, and they have less self-control. They are more daring. They are more likely to take risks. They are less likely to think before they act, and they feel more independent, so they are less likely to listen to you. It feels like all the training goes out the window, but if you keep up the training, if you know how the training works, you can end up with a much better behaved dog by the end of their puberty. So dogs go through puberty from about 6 months to about 18 months. The most difficult part of that puberty stage is between 7 months and 11 months. That's when I get the most phone calls. When a puppy is between 7 months to 11 months, that's the teenage puppy stage, where it is all of the hormones and none of the brain power. So, another aspect of teenagehood for puppies is that they develop an organ on the roof of their mouth that allows them to smell pheromones. So beforehand, puppies can smell a lot of things, but they can't smell pheromones. And then suddenly at about 6 months, they get this influx of hormones, and it's like I liken it to somebody who was colorblind suddenly being able to see color, and how overwhelming that is. It is just a sudden influx of all this new exciting information, and puppies get so enraptured by smell at this time because all of a sudden they can smell a whole new world. So they are highly distractible. They are highly curious. They are much less likely to be able to break away from a smell to come back to you or listen to you. You might also see your puppies start licking things that they weren't putting in their mouths previously. They might go up to and start sniffing a bush, and then they lick a leaf, and then they do like a little chattering thing with their mouth, a little type of thing with their mouth. And what that does is they are actually licking pheromones off the leaf, and they are using their tongue to rub that pheromone scent on that new organ on the roof of their mouth. And what this does is it allows them to find mates now they're going through puberty. However, it is also highly inconvenient to us as owners to have our puppies suddenly so enraptured and so distractible when we thought we put all this effort into training them. And that can be very aggravating. It can be annoying. It can be difficult. It can be frustrating, but it's a phase. It is a phase of life that all animals go through, the developmental stage. And if you can hold on, if you can keep doing training in appropriate environments, you will have a much less distractible, much more stable puppy at the end of it. An important part about this stage is puppies will become really invested in smells. And so don't focus on how far you go on your walk. Focus on the amount of time you spend on your walk. Again, we are still in that phase of, in that 7 to 11 month stage we are focusing on the amount of time on our walks, not the distance. Walks are not for physical exercise. Walks are for mental exercise. Your puppy needs to experience these scents now so that they are less distracted by them as an adult. So we want to give them the time to fully explore these scents. So you might go on a walk and your puppy stops to smell 3 different things before you've even left the part of the sidewalk that's in front of your property. And that's okay. You want to stop and let your puppy fully explore and process that scent. Stop and let your puppy smell as long as they aren't eating something that they shouldn't be, as long as it's not, a road-killed squirrel or a toxic mushroom or another dog's poop. Let them smell. Hello, can you hear me again? I need to get different headphones that don't turn off just because I don't have audio coming back into them. Anyway, where was I? Uh, you want to let your puppy experience and fully process a scent. Your puppy will tell you when they're ready to move on. You you want to stand still and wait, and your puppy's smelling, they're smelling, they're smelling, they're smelling, they're smelling, they're continuing to smell. It's very boring for you, but you're watching them and they're smelling, and eventually they're going to be done with that smell and they're going to start to try and move towards the next smell, and you just stop and you stay there and you hold your ground and you wait. And what you're waiting for is for the moment for the puppy to remember you exist. They to remember that you're on the other end of the leash. And when that happens, your puppy's going to turn around and look at you. That's when you say yes, or you give them a click and you give them a treat at your side where you want them to be. So if they're up ahead of you, you offer the treat at your side so they come back to you. And then you give them the treat and you continue your walk together until your puppy finds something else to sniff. And then you stop and you wait and they sniff and they sniff and they sniff again. And eventually they're going to remember that you exist and that you're on the end of the leash, and they look at you and you click or you say yes and you offer them a treat at your side, and then you continue your walk again. It is a lot of starting and stopping at this age, and that is normal and that is necessary. Your puppy needs to experience these scents because the less novel these scents are to your dog, the more likely your dog is going to be able to ignore them as an adult. At this stage, we want our puppies to have this experience of smelling the smells, processing them, understanding them, and then when they are over the novelty, when they are have processed that smell, they will tell us when they are ready to continue the walk. And if we wait for that, what we're going to get is we are going to get a very polite dog who stops to smell something on a loose leash. They smell it, they understand it, and they don't spend as long smelling it. They then, when they're done smelling it, they look at us without hitting the end of the leash, and we walk together. And it becomes this communication of your dog going, "Hey, I want to smell this for a moment." You go, "Okay, I'll let you smell that." Your puppy smells. They don't smell for as long because you haven't been pulling them away from smells, so they don't feel like they have to dig their heels in and really force the time that they need to process that smell. The smell isn't as exciting to them anymore because they know they're going to be allowed to smell it. And this becomes a discussion, a way to communicate with your dog and enjoy this walk together. You can see all of these colors that your dog cannot. Your dog can smell all these smells that you cannot. And by allowing each other the time for you to look around and your dog to smell, you're going to have a much more enjoyable walk together. All right. So those are, I think, are the important things. We discussed a puppy nap time schedule. We discussed house training, and we discussed teenage puppydom. I think that those are some pretty good things to have us process. So we'll have a shorter stream today. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave comments in the video description down below. And I look forward to seeing you guys in class in the future. Have a great day.